The sun dips below the jagged horizon, plunging the harsh landscape into a freezing, terrifying darkness. The icy wind begins to howl through the trees. And the one thing keeping you alive, a tiny glowing ember in the center of your camp, just let out its final, pathetic spark. It is gone. Total, suffocating panic sets in. What actually happened when early humans lost their only source of fire? To truly grasp the horror of this prehistoric crisis, we have to forget almost everything pop culture and movies have taught us about the Stone Age. You probably picture a muscular caveman confidently rubbing two sticks together or striking rocks to create a spark whenever he wanted. But here is the shocking historical truth. For hundreds of thousands of years, early humans had absolutely no idea how to make fire from scratch. They did not create it. They scavenged it. Fire was a wild, untamed beast, and our early ancestors were merely opportunistic thieves. They relied entirely on the chaotic forces of nature. A massive lightning strike hitting an old, dry tree during a summer storm. A spontaneous wildfire sweeping across the dry savanna. When the towering flames finally died down, our ancestors would cautiously approach the smoldering, smoking ashes. They would desperately search for a solid, burning branch, grabbing it and carrying it back to their camp like the most priceless treasure on Earth. So, what exactly happens when that stolen treasure goes out? The most immediate and visceral consequence was pure, unfiltered terror. Without the protective glow of fire, the night was no longer a time to rest and recover. It was a time to survive. Fire was the ultimate, original home security system. The bright, dancing flames and the sharp, choking smell of wood smoke kept the monsters at bay. And there were real, terrifying monsters out there. Giant cave hyenas with jaws capable of crushing femurs. Massive, short-faced bears that dwarfed modern grizzlies. And saber-toothed cats perfectly evolved to ambush in the dark. With a roaring, crackling fire, humans were the undisputed masters of their tiny domain. But the exact moment that fire fizzled out, the terrifying shadows crept back in. Humans instantly plummeted right back down the food chain. Every snap of a dry twig, every subtle rustle in the tall bushes meant potential death. You couldn't see the predators in the pitch black, but they could definitely see you. If the sharp teeth of the predators didn't get you, the unforgiving environment absolutely would. Many of our hominid ancestors lived through periods of extreme, punishing cold during various glacial periods. The Ice Age was not just a slightly chilly winter, it was a brutal, relentless era where overnight temperatures would routinely plunge well below freezing. Fire acted as a portable, captive sun. It provided a localized, life-saving zone of warmth in an otherwise deadly frozen landscape. When the fire died, the freezing, biting air would violently rush into the cave or the makeshift shelter. Hypothermia became a constant, looming threat. Within hours, desperate families would have to huddle closely together on the hard ground. They relied entirely on shared body heat and whatever crude, untreated animal skins they had managed to scrape together. Sleep was fitful, dangerous, and sometimes, for the weakest members of the tribe, permanent. Then, there was the massive problem of breakfast, or rather, the excruciating difficulty of it. Before the harnessing of fire, hominids ate everything completely raw. The introduction of fire literally changed human biology forever. Cooking food acts essentially as an external stomach. It breaks down tough, fibrous plant matter. It kills dangerous, deadly bacteria in rotting meat. And most importantly, it unlocks a massive, concentrated amount of usable calories. Because of cooked food, our ancestors' digestive tracts got shorter, their jaws got smaller, and their brains got massively bigger. The human brain is a greedy engine. It requires a massive amount of caloric energy to function. So, losing fire meant a sudden, brutal return to the old, inefficient ways of eating. Imagine waking up freezing, terrified, and realizing you have to spend 6 to 8 hours a day aggressively chewing on a raw, dirt-covered, fibrous plant root just to get enough baseline energy to survive. Your jaw aches just thinking about the effort. Eating raw, scavenged meat carried enormous risks of terrible disease and internal parasites. Without the flames to cook, caloric intake plummeted rapidly, and the physical, exhausting toll on the body skyrocketed. Because losing fire was basically an agonizing death sentence, early humans became deeply obsessed with keeping it alive at all costs. This desperate need led to one of the most vital, respected, and stressful jobs in any prehistoric society, the firekeeper. This was not a casual, part-time chore. It was a high-stakes, 24/7 life-or-death responsibility. Designated firekeepers had to constantly feed the flames, day and night, without fail. They had to study the environment. They had to know exactly which types of dry wood burned hot and fast, and which dense logs created the best, long-lasting coals for the deep night. But they couldn't just stay comfortably inside one single cave forever. Early humans were nomadic hunter-gatherers. They had to constantly move, following the great animal herds and adapting to the shifting seasons. So, how exactly do you move an active fire across miles of hostile, windy wilderness? You have to carry it. They cleverly used natural, insulated containers, a hollowed-out animal horn, a large, thick seashell, or even specific types of hard, slow-burning tree fungus. They would carefully place the glowing red embers inside these natural cups, tightly packing them with damp earth or cold ash to safely restrict the oxygen flow. It was a highly fragile, incredibly dangerous package. Now, put yourself in their shoes. Imagine being the designated fire carrier for your tribe. You are walking carefully across a rocky, slippery river valley. The wind is howling, and then you trip. The precious embers scatter directly into a muddy, freezing puddle. You hear a loud hiss, see a small cloud of steam, and then there is only silence. You are the one who just plunged your entire extended family back into the terrifying Dark Ages. The awkward, hostile silence around the freezing, pitch-black campsite that night would have been absolutely unbearable. So, the worst has happened. The fire is completely out. The embers are dead and cold. What do you do now? The tribe faced a desperate, terrifying set of choices. Option 1. Wait for nature to provide. You sit shivering in the freezing cold, miserably chewing your raw roots, and heavily pray for a violent, dangerous thunderstorm. You hope lightning strikes a nearby dead tree so you can sprint out and steal the flames all over again. But nature absolutely does not work on a human schedule. You could be waiting in the dark for months. Option 2. Go find someone else's fire. This meant forming a brave scouting party and trekking far across hostile, unknown territory to hopefully find another human tribe. And human interactions back in the Stone Age were incredibly tense and unpredictable. If you finally spotted the glow of a neighbor's camp, you couldn't exactly just walk up, knock on a rock, and politely ask for a light. They might be fiercely territorial and heavily armed. They might have barely enough resources for themselves. But extreme desperation drives human innovation. Many anthropologists firmly believe that the cautious exchange of fire might have been one of the very earliest forms of intertribal diplomacy. You approach slowly, hands clearly visible, showing you are unarmed. Maybe you offer a freshly hunted animal carcass or a highly prized, sharp flint tool in direct exchange for a single glowing, burning branch. It was the original highest-stakes trade deal in human history. Eventually, after countless agonizing generations trapped in this desperate cycle of losing and finding fire, everything radically changed. Humans finally figured out the ultimate secret. Through observation and accident, they realized that striking specific rocks together, like hard flint and iron pyrite, created a hot spark that lasted just long enough to ignite dry, feathery tinder, or they mastered the complex mechanics of the bow drill using sheer, relentless friction to create a glowing ember from wood dust. That monumental moment of discovery was the true, fiery dawn of human independence. We were no longer chained helplessly to the chaotic whims of lightning strikes or unpredictable wildfires. We could summon the power of the sun in the palm of our hands, anywhere we stood, any time we needed it. The ancient, paralyzing fear of the dark was finally, permanently conquered. Fire brought our ancestors together around the warm hearth, sparking the evolution of language, complex storytelling, and human society itself. If you enjoyed this wild journey back to the freezing embers of human history, please hit that like button and subscribe to Ancient Origins. It truly helps us keep the fire burning on this channel, bringing you more simple answers to history's biggest questions. Stay curious, and we will see you in the next one.